And guests will please rise as we're led in prayer by the chaplain, to be followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Our truth for today comes from Psalm 34, verses 17 and 18. The righteous cry, and the Lord hears and delivers them out of all their troubles. The Lord is near to the brokenhearted and save those who are crushed in spirit. Let us pray. O Lord God, creator and sustainer, the psalmist reminds us to call upon the Lord in the day of trouble, and you respond that you will deliver and we will glorify you. We are mindful that we are but dust. We are men and women of clay feet whom you use. Father, you are the high and exalted one who lives forever, whose name is holy, and you dwell in a high and holy place. But you also are with the contrite and lowly of spirit, to revive the spirit of the lowly and to revive the heart of the contrite. We ask that you would grant a favor as our representatives govern in this house. They rule as your leader and administrator. Would you endow them with wisdom and knowledge this day to benefit this great state? Let the favor of the Lord be upon us. Confirm the works of our hands. Give permanence to the work of our hands, O Lord Most High. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We're in the roll call period. All members, please record your presence. We're in the roll call period.
Welcome to State House Today. I'm Gavin Jackson along with Maayan Schechter here in the State House lobby on Thursday, March 5th, 2026. Maayan, it's the end of week 8. It's also Victims Advocacy Day, which is hosted by SC Victims Assistance Network and SCAD VASA. So again, we are here in the State House lobby. The House is in. The Senate will be coming in soon. Maayan, it's the end of week 8. We don't have to talk about the budget yet. We'll talk about the budget, but it's coming up next week on week 9. But I did want to mention before we start talking about the budget, just what we kind of saw happen yesterday in the House during that General Assembly was, of course, Judicial Election Day here at the State House. And, of course, the biggest race we had been talking about this entire week did not take place because State Supreme Court Justice John Cannon-Few dropped out the day before that race, before that election, I should say, which then reset the entire qualification process. And at this point, we don't, he's going to stay on the bench until a replacement is named, even though his term is up this summer. So, of course, that's a whole different situation. We're still trying to get some more details about how that's going to play out if we have to wait for the typical Judicial Merit Selection Committee process to play out, if there's going to be a commission play out, or if there's going to be some sort of amended schedule, TBD at this point. But we did see Will Wheeler, who's a former state Democratic representative from Bishopville, get elected fairly comfortable margin
I think
by his
so.
colleagues. He dropped out last year. He dropped out, I should say, he resigned from the State House last year in the beginning of the year because you have to do that in order to become a judge. If you want to run, there's a certain amount of time you have to have elapsed before you can put your name in the ring and actually get elected to be a judge. And he got that for the Third Circuit Court. So not too many fireworks yesterday. A lot of those are just all kind of like everyone knows where the writing on the
Right.
wall is pretty much at.
Right. I mean, there was obviously, again, as there has been in every single judicial election race, we've seen some opponents in the Senate towards some of the folks that the House more favors. Of course, the Senate does not have as many members as the House, so they're always going to be the underdog in these elections. So we did see that a little bit with former Representative Will Wheeler. You saw some folks in the Senate who did not like that a former House Democratic lawmaker was being elected. Also, folks in the Freedom Caucus, the hardline conservative group in the House, who also voted against Wheeler and blasted the vote totals right online. We saw that as well too. But there was also a lot of activity. The Public Service Commission, the utility regulatory rate body that we have in this state, also had elections yesterday, and there were, I believe, a couple of incumbents who lost their seats.
Yeah.
So there was some overhaul there as well, and you can find that in some of our friendly sister papers, folks that we talk to all the time, Post and Courier, the state newspaper. But yeah, really, without the Supreme Court race, a lot of air gone from that
Yeah.
entire election yesterday.
And of course, also yesterday we saw over in the Senate that they passed that bill by Representative Gary Brewer, who's a Republican out of Charleston, deal with boat taxes, H 3858, that helps cut property taxes on boats, I think down to around 6%, if I understand it correctly. So again, a lot of headway there in terms of our ongoing discussions about tax policy this session, Mayan. Of course, that's just one factor of it. But when we talk about tax policy, we're talking about revenue coming into the state general fund, which lawmakers, of course, up here budget with. And as we know, next week is budget week. You were at a briefing this morning with House Ways and Means Committee Chairman Bruce Bannister, kind of giving that overall, that 30,000-foot view of the budget and what's in it. What did you hear from him? What are some of the big takeaways? Again, we've been talking about this, but again, all eyes will be on the House next week.
Right, and I think this is an issue. This is arguably the most important piece of legislation that the legislature actually takes up every year. So I think if you are a policy wonk, a state house observer, whatever name you want to coin, a lobbyist, or an average South Carolina taxpayer, you are very, very interested in what's going on. These are your taxpayer dollars. So what we heard today, the House is going to come in at 1 o'clock on Monday. The process is usually a little bit easier on the front end as opposed to the latter part of it. We see the House usually take up the sections of the budget that don't have any provisos or are sort of easier. Maybe there's one or two. It's not like education or healthcare, for example. And then they'll go into the meatier parts. Now, last year we did see them go till midnight. And I think in talking to some budget folks who have been around for a while, but also to lawmakers, they fully expect that same process to happen. I will also mention that today the Rules Committee met very briefly, and they have put the income tax legislation and the tax conformity legislation on special order.
In the Senate?
No, in the House.
In the House, okay.
Meaning that...
They're going to throw them together.
Yes, meaning that typically after the House passes the budget, we all leave. We get a day off.
Sure.
I say we, lawmakers get a day off. They're going to stay at work for a little bit more time. So next week could be a really, really long week. Of course, we know that the budget is about a $15.4 billion general fund budget. That's just the state dollars. But House Ways and Means Chairman Bruce Bannister says that it's actually much less. Most of that money has already been committed to a lot of government services.
Gotcha. Yeah. So I mean, that's interesting because at this point, you're talking about having a big budget debate. So it's like, hey, let's just throw taxes on top of it as well. Of course, we're in the State House lobby. You always get to see all the fun activities that are going on. But of course, Mayan, I want to also talk a little bit about what else we saw play out in the House yesterday, which was the HALO Act getting passed. Sorry, we have a little activity going on. It's a big lobby, but people love being drawn to the camera and the light for some reason. They're like moths. But we did see a vote yesterday on that HALO Act, which again would require folks to be 25 feet away from first responders and law enforcement if given a verbal warning during a situation going on. There's a lot of consternation about that. We saw some Democrats were very frustrated about that bill because I think they see a lot of possibility there for infringement on First Amendment rights and more. Of course, that vote was 95 to 18, and that now goes over to the Senate. And of course, we saw the Senate has some other things coming up as well too. But tell me about some of the activity we saw in the House in terms of also Bill Taylor, State Representative Bill Taylor from Aiken, announcing that he won't be running.
Yeah, Bill Taylor's been in the House for over 15 years, represented a pretty rural district in the South Carolina House from Aiken. It's a big loss for the Aiken community. I mean, he's been around for a while. He also, like his fellow Aiken lawmaker, Bill Clyburn, sits on the House Ways and Means Committee. And of course, Bill Clyburn has announced that he will be seeking re-election, so there will still be Aiken representation on that committee, but that opens up a seat on the committee. At least there's going to be at least 2 seats because Davey Hyatt is also not running for re-election. But Bill Taylor essentially said, look, I am 79 years old. I'd like to spend more time with my family. I have grandchildren. It's really time for this point in my life to be a new chapter to come in. And we hear that a lot from folks who have been here for a while, who have also seen, I think, the General Assembly, particularly the House, change a little bit. And so maybe there's a little bit of exhaustion.
It's also a demanding role for sure.
It is a demanding role. It's a part-time gig that's really a full-time job.
Yeah.
So a loss for the Aiken.
Well, then also you're talking about 2 spots on the House Ways and Means Committee. That's everyone is already probably hounding House Speaker Moss because he's the one who makes those committee assignments.
That's right. I think we've seen a little bit of
We've already seen
silent
that.
lobbying happening in some
I'll
capacity.
be following him around to any and every event.
That's
Being
right.
like, hey, remember me? Put me on Ways and Means. Everyone wants to be on Ways and Means, and that's because you get to control the money to an extent.
Yeah, I mean, you get the first write through of the state budget. That's a very powerful, influential role. And of course, Bill Taylor did not start out on Ways and Means. It took him a while to get there. So generally, it does take folks a while to get on that committee. And once they get on that committee,
You
they
don't
want
get
to
off.
leave it.
Of course, the House is in and the Senate will be coming at 11 o'clock. But I do want to mention again, we'll be watching over in the Senate next week. And that would be the roads bill debate, possibly. And of course, this bill, S831, we've been talking about all session. We did see it move through the Senate Transportation Committee to the Senate floor. And I've been talking to folks on that committee as well as other officials, and they're really gearing up for this bill to be debated in the Senate. And a lot of issues on this bill, I think a lot of maybe more of the controversial issues involved with this bill involve fees and revenue raising. And of course, that's been stripped out of this bill because of fears about where this money originates from and how that could be a problem. As we've seen in the past when it came to medical marijuana, the Senate had a bill that would raise revenue, and of course, any bill that raises revenue has to originate in the House.
A tricky little constitutional measure.
We were talking about this late yesterday evening, a little part of the Constitution, but there are other aspects of the 831, that DOT legislation by Transportation Committee Chairman Larry Grooms from Berkeley, that would give DOT greater ability to enter into public and private partnerships. There'd be an expansion of tolling authority, so that's a good way of them raising some of this revenue that they desperately need, according to SCDOT Secretary Justin Powell. And of course, it gives the department more permitting responsibilities from the Federal Highway Administration. So that gives them the ability to streamline some of these permitting processes when it comes to environmental reviews that they say will help reduce the time it takes to get these big projects moving, which, as we know, as a growing state, is critical. Time is money, especially when we know that everything costs more money these days. Yeah. And it also gives greater oversight of the County Transportation Committee. So again, we expect to see S831 being debated in the Senate next week. I'll probably be covering a little bit more of that while you're enjoying the House budget debate.
Thank you.
But we'll be here together.
We'll cross paths.
Yeah.
We'll say hello.
But I think that's all we got. Anything else you want to mention or add that we haven't covered today?
No, we're just really in budget prep mode.
Yeah.
I mean, next week is really a big week, and then the House, of course, will take a nice little furlough. So we'll have a little bit of break from them.
In April. And the week
and
after.
In March, and week after.
We'll all be on the Senate then.
That's right. We'll be on Senate time at that point. But that is pretty much where my brain is right now.
I know. I'm looking forward to our furlough in April. Don't worry. We'll be covering y'all every day at the State House. And we'll be here on Monday, too. We're kicking off Budget Week Live. We're doing it, folks. We're going to be here for 4 days.
All right. Get used to these spaces.
I just want to get you guys a little programming note. We will not have This Week in South Carolina airing this Friday because we are in pledge drive right now. If you're not an ETV endowment member, we encourage you to donate, especially during our spring pledge drive. And of course, we're here every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday during the legislative week to let you know on what's going on in the State House and Senate. Of course, we're also recapping the news from the SCTV.org/The Gavel. The Gavel is our fun little Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday blog where we let you know all the ins and outs, a little bit more gritty detail about what's going on so you guys can keep up about what's happening here at your State House. I'm Gavin Jackson, along with Maayan Schechter here in the State House lobby. We're going to send you guys over to the House right now. And again, the Senate comes in at 11. Have a great weekend.
Principals Jennifer McNear and LHS Athletic Director Curtis Dustin Curtis. Additionally, their parents are in the balcony. Parents, we just want to say thank you, and we recognize you for your commitment and support of these student athletes. As a Wildcat, always a Wildcat. Members, please join me in recognizing the Lexington High School cheer squad, its coaches, and school officials for another exemplary season in capturing the 2025 state championship title for Division I.
Lexington High School cheer team. Ladies, Miss Calhoun talked about pride and the community being proud. I always say I love going to baptisms and watching the family. And that's what I want to say here is I watch the faces of your moms and dads and all those that have supported with you. They could not be more proud of you. And that's a reward in itself. So I congratulate you and I congratulate all the parents. Thank you for being here today. Mr. Grant is recognized for a very important recognition.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, ladies and gentlemen of the House and guests and visitors. It's my honor today to stand on behalf of Representative Cambrell Garvin, who is en route, doing some things with work, but he sends his regards as he's on his way. But I have the honor and privilege of recognizing and standing in his stead to speak on a fraternity brother, a friend, a law enforcement officer, and a fierce advocate, Mr. Corey Mitchell, who is the founder of the Corey Mitchell Multiple Sclerosis Foundation. Now, we've got some family members that are in the balcony. I'll ask the family members to stand, but Mr. Mitchell is actually on the floor of the House, standing in the back with our fraternity brothers, Representative Bill Clyburn, Representative Lonnie Hosey, Representative Jerry Govan, and Representative John King, and others. And we now have Representative Robert Reese, who is also a member of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated. But with Corey's advocacy in South Carolina, the month of March is now declared as Multiple Sclerosis Awareness Month. This resolution that is being presented to him honors Mr. Mitchell's work and his testimony. Brother Mitchell has turned his diagnosis of multiple sclerosis into a powerful mission of service. And rather than allowing the disease to define him, he has committed himself to helping others navigate the challenges that it comes with. Through his work of the foundation, it invests in the next generation through its Helping Hands Scholarship Program, which encourages students, particularly those who are pursuing careers in healthcare, to continue the work of improving treatment and ultimately finding a cure for this disease. So, ladies and gentlemen, the work of his foundation is a reminder that even in the face of adversity, service and compassion can create hope for others through perseverance. So members, please help me thank Brother Corey Mitchell and the Corey Mitchell Multiple Sclerosis Foundation for their work and declaring the month of March as Multiple Sclerosis Month here in the great state of South Carolina. And he is on the floor accompanied by his mother. We've got members of his family again who are in the balcony and supporters. So ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome our dear brother and our friend, Brother Corey Mitchell, and Multiple Sclerosis Month here in South Carolina.
Well, welcome to the State House, Corey. Thank you for your hard work. We appreciate your determination. Thank you very much. Good to see you this morning. Thank you for being here. Mr. Britton's next introduction. House come to order. House come to order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm getting ready, Blake's getting ready to throw it. That is my son, Walker Mann, the Walker Britton. So it's the dude. He is on his way to Atlanta this morning. He has qualified for, I believe, 8 sectional cuts in swimming. So he'll be in Atlanta this weekend. trying to make it to nationals. He's 12 years old, pretty pumped up about it, and he's just a good kid. He really is. Son, love you. Good luck.
Best of luck to you. Thank you for that, Mr. Britton. Ms. Bernstein is recognized for the next introduction. You're recognized, Ms. Bernstein.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today, I'd like to recognize the advocates, survivors, and families gathered here for the 5th Annual Victims Matter Rally and Advocacy Day. Those in the gallery, if you're here for that Advocacy Day, if you would stand. We acknowledge the leadership of the South Carolina Coalition Against Domestic Violence and Sexual Assault and the South Carolina Victim Assistance Network in their critical work providing advocacy and support to victims of crime across our state and to the organizations that serve survivors in our communities. We stand with survivors and their families as they courageously share their stories and raise awareness of the challenges faced by victims of violent crime. And we listen as those assembled here today use their voices to call for the prioritization of essential funding to sustain victim services and implementation of policies that recognize the needs of victims in our response to crimes. Gilda, please join me up here. Yes. On behalf of this body, I extend our sincere appreciation to Skidvasa, Essie Van, their partners, and every survivor and family member present. And you'll see in the first floor lobby lots of people gathered there as well. May we continue working together to support survivors. Every crime victim deserves nothing less than full justice. Thank you for being here today. If we could welcome them.
Thank y'all for being here. Thank you for what you do for us in South Carolina. We certainly do appreciate that. Thank you very much for being here today. I think Mr. Gagnon, your group here. Representative Gagnon is recognized for the next introduction. House come to order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Hold on, Mr. Gagnon. Your group in the balcony, let's let that group get out. We may not be able to see them. Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead then. I just didn't want them to get lost in the behind. Okay, go ahead, Mr. Gagnon.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Good morning, colleagues. I am joined here by Representative Gilreath and Representative Haddon and Representative Chapman. I didn't see him. He's right behind me. Today is my distinct honor to recognize the incredible accomplishments of the Abbeville High School Lady Panthers volleyball team, the 2025 Class A state champions. Stand up, girls. This season, the Lady Panthers made history by capturing the first state volleyball championship in Abbeville High School history, finishing the year with an outstanding 23-3 record overall and a 17-1 region record. After starting the season with a loss to Saluda, they reeled off 13 consecutive wins and ended their season on a 10-game winning streak. Their championship run was defined by resilience, teamwork, and determination. The Panthers were led by their head coach, Sarah Wojtkowski, and her dedicated staff, whose leadership helped guide the program to this historic milestone. Along the way, the Lady Panthers secured several key postseason victories, including playoff wins over Louisville, Whitmire, and C.A. Johnson, and a thrilling 3-2 upper state championship win over a tough cross-county foe at Dixie High School. And finally, a 3-1 victory over Latta to win the Class A state championship in a very thrilling match. The championship roster includes standout athletes Laylan Yates, raise your hand, there you go. Lauren Murray, Ella Atkins, Lucy Coleman, Bella Evans, Riley Tiller, Sarah Gully, Reese Jones, Kaylee Bundrick, Micah Allen, T.L. Killingsworth, and Maddie Byler. Young women who represented their school and our community with pride. From a program that once struggled for wins to become a state championship team, the Lady Panthers demonstrated what commitment, teamwork, and belief can accomplish. Their success has brought tremendous pride to the Abbeville community and to the entire state of South Carolina. Today, we proudly recognize the Abbeville Lady Panthers volleyball team, coaches, parents, and their fans for their historic season, their championship achievement, and for representing the very best of high school athletics in our state. Congratulations, Lady Panthers. Well done.
Congratulations, ladies. Proud of you.
No.
Good to see Senator Gambrell up there with you folks, you fine ladies. Congratulations on a job well done.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I forgot about the senator up there. Sorry.
You can't forget about the senator. Yep. Thank you, ladies. Congratulations. Hold on. Okay. Ms. Cobb Hunter, you recognized for an introduction.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, Representative McDaniel and I are really pleased to stand here today. Mr. Speaker, could we get some order?
House come to order, please. House will come to order. Still got a few more of these to go through, so House come to order. If you got any questions, take them outside. You got any conversations?
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker, and members, thank you as well. Thank you all as well. Ms. McDaniel and I are here proudly to recognize a group of women in the balcony from the South Carolina ABWA Day at the State House and celebrating her story. Transforming Lives Luncheon and Reception is to raise awareness, inspire, and celebrate the contributions that women are making in the workforce in South Carolina, to recognize the specific achievements women have made over the course of South Carolina history in a variety of occupations, and to salute South Carolina women trailblazers for their resilience, achievements, and advancements made locally, nationally, and internationally. Now, if y'all want to see something, you may want to just come and take a look at all these women up here in the balcony. Y'all looking real good up there, ladies. But you know, unfortunately, you can't do that. You can't have outbursts and, you know, all that kind of stuff. Y'all can wave and smile, but you can't scream and shout and even do all what you just did. I saved the speaker from having to tell you that. So, anywho, Mr. Speaker, we'd like to welcome the ladies of ABWA, the American Businesswomen, Herstory honorees, and featured guest speakers, and let me list the names of these women. And y'all, please understand, just like with the group we had before, those men and women who are involved in victims and working with victim services, they were from all over the state, from all 46 counties. These women represent all 46 counties, so y'all probably got somebody up there who you represent in case you might be interested. We've got Elizabeth Johnson, ABA Executive Director from Florida, and I need to find out later, Ms. Johnson, where in Florida you're from. As a native Floridian, I'm just curious as to whether or not you've ever heard of Gifford, Florida in Indian River County. We've got Kendall Ray Johnson, 10 years old and already received a full scholarship at South Carolina State University. Y'all, let me repeat that. She's 10 years old, and some of y'all may have seen that in the media. 10 years old and already received a full scholarship at SC State. She was recognized as the 2026 Herstory Young Entrepreneur Trailblazer, and she is from the state of Georgia, youngest, I don't know if Mr. Hedden's in here, but the youngest USDA farmer, certified farmer in Georgia. Dr. Amalia Luxardo, 2026 Trailblazer honoree. Ms. Luxardo is CEO of the South Carolina Women's Rights and Empowerment Network. Barbara Peterson, ABWA National President from North Carolina. Jay Franco, American businesswoman from Texas. Shanita Mumford, ABWA Scholarship recipient from North Central University, and she's from South Carolina. Dr. Deborah Johnson Blake, District 1 VP from Georgia. Peyton McQueen, SBMEF $5,000 scholarship recipient, also going to South Carolina State University. Jessica Burdion, President, South Carolina Area Council, New Hampshire. Ooh. Bethany Scriven, $5,000 scholarship recipient, and she is going to Claflin University. And Rachel Jamerson, event visionary and host. Mr. Speaker and members, y'all take a look at these women up here. Please join me in welcoming this fine group of women. And I know those of you who said, well, Gilda, I thought you said they were from all over South Carolina. You didn't say nothing about New Hampshire and Texas and all of that. They are just national, Mr. Speaker and members. Y'all, welcome to the State House. Enjoy your visit. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank y'all for being here today. We appreciate it very much. Thank you very much. Representative Sanders is recognized for the next recognition. House come to order. Hold on, Mr. Sanders. House come to order. Got a couple more to go. Let's let them get out of the balcony, and we'll get you, Mr. Sanders. Mr. Sanders, you ready? Representative Sanders, you are recognized. The House will come to order, please. House will come to order. Representative Sanders, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm joined today by the county delegation on the floor with me that is present. T.L. Hanna graduate Representative Don Chapman and the esteemed senator from Anderson County, Mr. Mike Gambrell. I will not forget you. And Representative Gagnon. So if we could have the T.L. Hanna ladies golf team please stand. Mr. Speaker, members of the House, I rise today to recognize an outstanding accomplishment by the T.L. Hanna High School Lady Yellow Jackets girls golf team for winning the 2025-2026 South Carolina High School League Class 5A Division II State Championship. On October the 28th at the Hackler Course at Coastal Carolina, these young women defended their title with poise and determination, overcoming difficult wind and rain to secure their second consecutive state championship with a team score of 642. After trailing early, they rallied in the second round with focus and grit. Senior Marissa Scaletta led the way, capturing the individual state title with a 1 under par 71, while teammates Sarah Erlenkuzer and Sierra Schultz finished among the top 5 in the state. Under the leadership of head coach Gabby Kitts, this team has demonstrated excellence, discipline, and true sportsmanship. We commend these student athletes for the pride they have brought to their school, the Anderson community, and we congratulate them on a truly remarkable season. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Congratulations, ladies. Job well done. Congratulations. We're glad to have you visiting the State House. No pressure, but we'll see you again next year. I think Mr. Howard, okay, go ahead. All right, I'm sorry. Representative Sanders has another fine group of people that he needs to talk about. You're recognized, Representative Sanders.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It is a great day in Anderson County when we can bring both the Lady Yellow Jackets and the Men Yellow Jackets to the State House for back-to-back state championships. So I continue to rise today to recognize the outstanding achievements of the boys golf team for winning the 2024-2025 South Carolina High School League Class 5A Division II state championships. On May the 20th at the Cliffs Mountain Course in Greenville, these young men captured their third consecutive state title. Though favored entering the tournament, they faced strong competition, yet maintained focus and determination throughout the two-day match. In a tightly contested finish, the Yellow Jackets edged Greenville by a single stroke, finishing with a team score of 570 to secure the championship. Individually, Eric Erlenkuzer earned the state title after battling through a playoff against 3 competitors, demonstrating remarkable composure under pressure. Under the leadership of head coach Eric Bona and his staff, this team exemplifies discipline, resilience, and excellence. We commend these student athletes for the pride they have brought to their school and the Anderson community, and congratulate them on a truly exceptional season. And I fully expect to see all of you back here next year. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Congratulations, guys. I like all those rings on that finger up there. He's won a few. Congratulations, guys. Mr. Howard has the doctor of the day. House will come to order. We've got the doctor of the day. House will come to order. Representative Howard, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen of the House, I would ask members of the Richland delegation if they're here to join me as we recognize the doctor of the day. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen of the House, I rise today to recognize the doctor of the day, Dr. Ada Stewart. Dr. Stewart is the past president of the American Academy of Family Physicians, and she's the first African-American president, female president, to hold that office. She serves as a full bird colonel in the United States Army Reserve. She's a lead provider at Waverly Family Medical Practice, known as Eau Claire Cooperative, and she is our doctor today. Please join me as we recognize the top doc of the day.
Thank you, Doctor. We appreciate you giving of your time today and helping us out. We do appreciate that very much. Thank you very much. Mr. Sessions here? He's next on the list. Anybody seen Mr. Sessions? He's not even signed in, so I don't guess he's on.
Everyone recorded their presence, fixing to close the roll call. Fixing to close the roll call. Mr. Sessions, your group, they're coming in now. Okay. Everyone recorded their presence, fixing to close it. Clerk will close the polls and tabulate. We have 117 members. Quorum is present. House will come back to order. House will come back to order. We got a couple more introductions. House will come to order. House will come to order. Representative Sessions, you are recognized to introduce your group. House will come to order, please. If you got any conversation, take them outside, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and body, thank you for your patience. I couldn't do another introduction when the folks hadn't got to the gallery yet. So, but I wanted to recognize Leadership York County is a structured community leadership program run by York County Regional Chamber of Commerce that develops emerging and established leaders through a year-long curriculum focused on local issues, civic engagement, and professional skills. Leadership York County is intended to create a pipeline of informed, dedicated residents and professionals who can serve in business, nonprofit, and government leadership roles across York County, South Carolina. The program emphasizes understanding county-wide issues, building networks among participants, and encouraging graduates to take on roles such as board service, commission appointments, and other forms of civic leadership. Welcome, Leadership York County. We always look forward to our delegation sitting down for a meal and engaging with you folks to have good, thoughtful discussions. So, House members, if you'd help me welcome Leadership York County.
Welcome to the State House, York County. Glad to see you this morning. Thank you for what you're doing in your community. Thank you for being here today. Thank you very much. Representative Jay Jordan is recognized for the next introduction. House will come to order, please. Very important introduction. Representative Jordan, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm joined by other members of the Florence County delegation. It's a special honor for me to welcome a very special select group of individuals here today. These are law enforcement folks that have been recognized as essentially Florence County law enforcement servants of the year. I won't call every single name, but I'll tell you these are folks from the Florence Fire, the City Police, Florence County Sheriff, Highway Patrol, DNR, Airport. These are folks that we wanted to, we do bring up every year, and I also want to recognize someone who's hiding up there, and that's our good friend Hood Temple, if he would stand as well. He handles the organization of this process and makes sure everything goes off as smoothly as possible on an annual basis. But we just wanted to bring y'all up, recognize you, and maybe most importantly, just say thank you for what you do and your service to our community back home. You do it the right way, and we're grateful. So thank you very much, and welcome to the State House.
Thank you, men and women. We do appreciate everything you do for us. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We're safe because of you folks, and we appreciate that very much. Thank y'all. We're on the calendar. Clerk will read.
Message from the Senate. Mr. Speaker and members of the House, the Senate respectfully informs your honorable body that it non-concurs in the amendments that you propose to Senate Bill 405.
Representative Johnson moves that we House insist in we recede from our amendments on Senate Bill 405. Yes. Yeah. Representative Johnson moves that the House recede from their amendments. All in favor say aye. All opposed no, and the ayes have it. Clerk will read.
Senate amendments to House Bill 4216.
Senate amendments. Clerk will read. That's everything? We're not reading it? Okay. We're on the calendar. We're on page 5.
Senate Bill 5060, excuse me, House Bill 5060, Stavronakis.
Third reading on House Bill 5060. All in favor say aye. All opposed, no. Ayes have it. Third reading.
Here we go.
Are we doing that? Are we doing this uncontested? House will stand at ease. While we're at ease, Ms. McDaniel has another introduction. Ms. McDaniel, where did you go? Ms. McDaniel has a quick introduction. Ms. McDaniel, now's your chance. Okay. Real quick.
Members of the Black Caucus and anyone who participated in the services for Reverend Jesse Jackson, if you could please come forward. So, Mr. Speaker, on behalf of the South Carolina Legislative Black Caucus and all who participated in the services for the late, great Reverend Jesse Lewis Jackson Sr., on behalf of the members of the South Carolina Legislative Black Caucus, we stand to say thank you. Governor McMaster, we are profoundly grateful for your swift and gracious approval of the request to utilize the second floor of the South Carolina State House. By authorizing the use of this historic space for the celebration of life services of Reverend Jesse Lewis Jackson Sr., you have honored his legacy as a monumental figure in South Carolina's history. Your decision provided the family and the citizens of the state a venue of immense dignity to gather and pay their respects to a true native son. Thank you for ensuring that the doors of the People's House were open to celebrate a life dedicated to the service of others and a man who was not selfish in well-doing. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Ms. McDaniel.
Added to the journal.
Appreciate it. All right. Mr. Taylor is recognized for a very quick introduction. We're going to move on to the calendar. All right. Hold on a second. Hold on a second. Ms. McDaniel moves to add her remarks to the journal. If you hand a written copy to the clerk, it's so ordered. All right. Mr. Taylor is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would ask that we have some folks here from Aiken, the Aiken-Barnwell Mental Health Facility. Stand up, would you please? These wonderful people. They're led by their big leader, Tamara Smith, who is the executive director. She is wonderful. Our son once worked there with her as a colleague, and we know what great work they do. She has with her today the sort of up-and-coming young folks in the development program there. And these are the people yes, thank you. Wave your hand. There you go. We need them. We need mental health, as you all know in this state, in any state. It needs more development, more funds, and more work and more people. So we're so thankful for what you do. And you young folks, welcome to the State House. It's your place. Thank you.
Welcome to the State House. Hope you enjoy your visit. Thank you for being here today. All right, we're on second reading, local uncontested bills, House Bill 5182. Clerk will read.
5182, Hager, Erickson, Jasper.
All right, Mr. Hager is recognized to speak on this bill. Mr. Hager.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's a local option, a local bill to give Jasper County with the tremendous growth we've had down there, they've got some funds they want to use to help our charter schools. It gives them the right to give directly to charter schools. So I hope we can move ahead with it, Mr. Speaker, and I move for passage.
All right, seeing no questions, pending questions, as second reading of House Bill 5182, a local Jasper County bill. Roll call is required in order. Voting on the board. All right, Mr. Bustos, quick introduction during roll call.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. If Charleston County Legislative Delegation would quickly come up, I would like to take the opportunity to welcome some of our teachers from Charleston County School District. If you would please stand up.
All right, hold on a second. Members, if you got conversations, take them outside, please. Mr. Bustos, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Joining us today are teachers Alyssa Ciccarella, Bernard Blaney, Felicia Rosenderry, Jessica Pisani, Lisa Luttrell, Tarikas White, Jennifer Gomez, Carlotta Mustafa, Christopher Wilbur, and Logan Carnell. These are some of our fine teachers that do so well for our children of Charleston County. Thank you very much.
Welcome to the State House. Hope you enjoy your visit. Thank you for what you do for our state. All right, polls closed. Clerk tabulate. 107 to 0. House Bill 5182 received second reading. Mr. Hager requests unanimous consent for the bill to receive third reading tomorrow. Is there an objection? Hearing none, so ordered. That brings us to third reading statewide uncontested bills. Clerk will read.
5089, Buford Delegation.
Pending question is third reading of House Bill 5089. All in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed, ayes have it. Bill receives third reading. That brings us to House Bill 3474. Clerk will read.
3474, Stavronakis.
Pending question is third reading of House Bill 3474. All in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed, ayes have it. Bill receives third reading. That brings us to second reading, statewide uncontested bills, House Bill 5126.
Thank you, Juanita.
Mr. Bannister.
5126, Ways and Means.
Mr. Bannister, for what purpose do you rise?
Do it.
All right, Mr. Bannister is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that House 5126, the General Appropriations Bill for fiscal year 2026-2027, be set for special order on Monday, March the 9th, 2026, immediately after roll call and after every roll call every day thereafter until given second reading.
All right, Mr. Bannister moves that 5126, the General Appropriations Bill for this fiscal year, for fiscal year 26-27, be set for special order on Monday, March 9th, 2026, immediately after roll call and every roll call every day thereafter until given second reading. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed, ayes have it. So motion is adopted. Mr. Bannister, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that while debating House 5126 on second reading, the bills on the calendar be printed by numbers only.
Mr. Bannister moves while debating House Bill 5126 on second reading, the bills on the calendar be printed by number only. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, ayes have it. So ordered. Mr. Bannister.
Mr. Speaker, I move that when the House adjourns today, that the House meet in local session tomorrow, Friday, March 6, 2026, and then convene in statewide session at 1 p.m. Monday, March 9th, 2026.
All right, Mr. Bannister moves that when we adjourn today, we adjourn in local session tomorrow, and then convene Monday at 1 p.m. For statewide session. All in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed, ayes have it. Mr. Bannister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that House 5127, the joint resolution appropriating the Capital Reserve Fund for fiscal year 2025-2026, be set for special order immediately following second reading of House 5126 and immediately after roll call every day thereafter until receiving second reading.
All right, Mr. Bannister moves that House Bill 5127, the Capital Reserve Fund bill for fiscal year 26-27. Is that a typo? Is that a typo? No, that's correct. All right. For 25-26, be set for special order immediately following second reading of House Bill 5126, and immediately after every roll call thereafter every day until receiving second reading. All in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed, ayes have it. So ordered. Mr. Bannister. All right. Mr. Clerk shall read.
Where we have a special order proposal by the House Rules Committee, special order 4216.
All right. Before us, we have a House resolution from the Rules Committee set in special order. Mr. Caskey is recognized to explain the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, the Rules Committee met this morning to take up a House resolution that would set two bills for special order consideration after we address the Appropriations Act and the Capital Reserve Fund Appropriation Act, which we just set for special order next week. The resolution says that 4216, which relates to income tax, would be set for special order after we take up 5127, the Capital Reserve Fund resolution, and after that we would take up 3368 relating to tax conformity. Practically speaking, what would happen if this resolution were adopted, we would meet next week, beginning Monday, I believe, do the budget, do the Capital Reserve Fund, then the special order would have us take up the income tax bill, and then tax conformity after that. Happy to take any questions.
Seeing no questions, pending question is adoption of resolution, House Resolution 5323. All in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed, ayes have it. The resolution is hereby adopted. All right, that brings us to withdrawals of objections or requests for debate. Are there any? I would think there isn't since we don't have anything on the calendar. Unanimous consent requests. Any unanimous consent request? Seeing none, we're now on Senate amendments. House Bill 4342 on page 7. Clerk will read.
Okay, we have 4342, Representative Mark Smith. This bill was recalled. This is Senate amendments. Senate amendments. Yes, sir.
Mr. Smith is recognized to tell you what the Senate did.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. House Bill 4342. This is relating to requirements for restricted instructor's license issued by the Board of Dentistry so as to remove the limitations, certain credentialing requirements. Essentially doing for the veterinary school in the upstate. Our upstate folks should be excited about this, allowing that to happen the same as we're happening in dental on the bill. Ask for concur.
All right, Mr. Pending question is whether to concur in the Senate amendments, and Mr. Smith recommended the House do concur. Roll calls require an order, voting on the board. All right, during roll call, Mr. Smith is recognized for a quick introduction. Mr. Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, we ask our executives from Bond Secures Roper, please stand up in the balcony. Members, take a look over your shoulder there. We have members from Bond Secures Mercy Health for Hospital of the Day today. Today in the General Assembly is joined by Bon Secours Mercy Health. In the balcony, we're recognizing Matt Caldwell, who's the president of Bon Secours St. Francis Health System, Joseph DeLeon, president of Roper St. Francis Health System. The system footprint in South Carolina includes Bon Secours St. Francis Health System in Greenville and Roper St. Francis in Charleston, as we know. And did you know that Bon Secours St. Francis Hospital, Roper Hospital, and Roper St. Francis Mount Pleasant Hospital were recently recognized by Newsweek as 3 of America's best in-state hospitals in 2026. Members and Mr. Speaker, let's give all of our executives from Bon Secours, Roper, St. Francis a tremendous welcome to the South Carolina State House for your day.
Welcome to the State House. Hope you enjoy your visit. Thank you for what you do for us. All right, have all members voted? Any objection, cutting roll call short? Hearing none, polls closed. Clerk tabulate by a vote of 111 to 0. House concurs in the Senate amendments of 4342. That brings us to third reading, statewide contested on page 7. Page 7, House Bill 3227. Clerk will read.
By Representative Gatch. LCI favorable. Adopted amendment.
Pending question is third reading of House Bill 3227. All in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed, ayes have it. Bill receives third reading. That brings us to page 8, House Bill 4151. Clerk will read.
4151 Western Newton Judiciary favorable. We've adopted the amendment.
Pending question is third reading of House Bill 4151. All in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed, ayes have it. Bill receives third reading. That brings us down to the bottom of page 8, House Bill 4763. Clerk will read.
4763 Oremus Judiciary favorable. Adopted amendment.
Pending question is third reading of House Bill 4763. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed, ayes have it. Bill receives third reading. That brings us to page 9, House Bill 5120. Clerk will read.
By Mr. Cox and Garvin and many others. Judiciary favorable. Adopted amendment.
Pending question is third reading of House Bill 5120. All in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed, ayes have it. Bill receives third reading. That brings us to House Bill 5073 at the bottom of page 9. Clerk will read.
By Ms. Petalino and a plethora of others. Education. Adopted amendment.
What purpose do you rise?
Who?
All right, Ms. McDaniel, you're recognized to speak on the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Since I'll be talking to one of my constituents who requested that I lay out the points of this bill that was of concern and importance to me, I am going to read this. And it states that its concerns regarding proposed revisions to the uniform grading scale. The following points outline critical concerns regarding the proposed mandates to the South Carolina Uniform Grading Scale. While standardized assessment is a necessary component of our educational system, the current proposal risks undermining local authority and ignores the socioeconomic realities facing our students. And the key areas of concern: infringement on our school district's local governance. The proposed policy directly interferes with the discretionary power of district superintendents and boards of trustees. By mandating a rigid structure, the state erodes the ability of local leaders to manage the districts effectively. The penalization of student-centered advocacy. The proposed creates a punitive environment for districts that deviate from the scale, even when such deviations are made in the documented best interests of the child. Educators should not be penalized for prioritizing student success over a standardized matrix. The 0 to 50 grading disparity. The mathematical readiness, and that was an example, the mathematical reality that a grade can range from 0 to 50 as a failing mark creates an irrevocable gap for many students. This policy lacks a nuisance approach to student recovery, often removing the second chance necessary for a student to stay engaged in their education. Stakeholder perspective and accountability. There is a significant concern regarding whether the architects of this legislation possess a vested interest in the South Carolina public school system. Policy is most effective when informed by those who personally utilize or have children enrolled in the system being regulated. Failure to address systemic root causes. A grading scale is a symptom and not a solution. This legislation fails to address the core obstacles that impede student performance in our state, including generational poverty and homelessness, systemic bigotry and plain injustice, preferential treatment within educational funding. So I urge the sponsors of this bill to reconsider what you want, the impact of those mandates on the daily operations of our schools. We must move toward a system that empowers educators to be not selfish in their well-doing, ensuring that our policies reflect a commitment to the whole child rather than just a numerical output. Mr. Speaker, I would like for these words to be placed in the journal. I move that they're placed in the journal.
You got to ask unanimous consent. So Ms. McDaniel requests unanimous consent to add these remarks to the journal. Is there an objection? Ms. Pedalino objects. All right. So the pending question is third reading of House Bill 5073. All in favor signify by saying aye. I already called it. And all opposed? All right. Few noes. Bill receives third reading. All right, we're now on concurrent resolutions. Okay. All right, next we're on concurrent resolutions. Senate Bill 655. Clerk will read.
655, Senator Williams, DOT, Horry County, Zachary Kyle Strickland Bridge.
Pending question is adoption of Senate Bill 655, concurrent resolution. All in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed, ayes have it. The resolution is adopted. That brings us to the bottom of page 10, House Resolution 4573. Clerk will read.
4573, Mr. Rankin, Charlie Kirk Memorial Highway, invitations.
Pending question is adoption of concurrent resolution 4573. All right, for what purpose
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to be heard on that.
Okay, Ms. Cobb Hunter is recognized to speak on the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Let me say from the outset that I know that these words will fall on deaf ears. That has absolutely nothing to do with my belief that they need to be said. I am so amazed at this rush to honor people who have no honor, in my opinion. Mr. Speaker and members, this is one of many to come. And as I just shared with my colleague, Chair of the Legislative Black Caucus, Representative McDaniel, one of the things that I've learned is to let go and let God. And I know there are people in here who profess to be Christian, and I'm sure in their minds they are. But I wonder what the Christ I grew up knowing about would think about a group of people who would bestow honors on men and women who have shown through their behavior that they don't know what honor is. When we think about, for example, I heard somebody get up here, the chair of the Black Caucus got up here and thanked the governor of this state for allowing the late Reverend Jesse Lewis Jackson to lay in state out here in the rotunda. We can't say the same thing about the so-called president of these United States, who denied that honor to Reverend Jackson, who denied the honor of having the flags lowered, to honor a man who spent his entire life working to bring people together. It seems now we are in a state of mind where we believe it is so appropriate. And I heard somebody, when I asked to be heard, say, oh, here we go, right, here we go. Here we go with the majority deciding to bestow an honor on somebody who is totally, in my view, unworthy. I wish those of you who want to revere and make this man something different in death than he was in life, I wish you would just think for 1 minute about how people of color feel about him, about how women with a mind to think for themselves as opposed to going along with the party line feel about him. Tell me what did he do to deserve honor? Divide? His face is on the Department of Education, a college dropout, a community college dropout, on the face of the Department of Education. But guess what? I was not surprised about that when I think about the Secretary of Education has no background in education, World Wrestling Federation, and what we are seeing is an administration that acts like everything is a WWE event. Now, as I said when I started, I know this is not going to matter to those of you in here. And as I constantly remind you from time to time, this message is not for you. This message is for those out there who are watching us and who wonder, does anybody have a voice of dissent? And I just, like the old folks say, I just stopped by to tell you, this is one. And I don't care what you think, because obviously you don't care what we think. If you did, you would not, in my view, rush through honoring people who hate, people who divide. After this, you're going to be talking about the Donald J. Trump Memorial Highway. And you'll all have press conferences and take pictures of the board to see those of us who voted against it, and you'll use it as you use everything else. And more power to you. More power to you. I have started, because the ocean calms me, and I have started to count the times in here that I've had to refer to my ocean waves and sunrises and sunsets to be able to just sit here and listen and watch. I can't do that today on this. It's been too much. It's just been too much. And so, Mr. Speaker and members, for my constituents who keep asking me, Gilda, what in the world is wrong with those people? What's wrong with them? And I am at a loss to say what it is. But let me just wrap my comments up. I know all y'all ready to go home, and I'm ready for y'all to go home, and I'm ready to go home. And I would rather have not headed down I-26 East with all of this. But be that as it may, you need to understand that there will come a time, all these little young people sitting against the wall, you continually try to make it like they are the only race. Do y'all understand that in this country, we are close to becoming a majority? In some states, it's already there. All you're doing is passing the sins of the father on to the children. And I'm here to tell you that you sit up in here and you have your little circle. It's almost incestuous the way y'all act in here. You have your little clique and your little circle, and you decide, okay, I like being in here. I like these titles. I like this perceived power that you think you have. It's fleeting. It's not going to last. Let me close my comments by saying this. Again, for the Christians in the room. It's like somebody said one time, I like your Christ. It's you Christians who give me pause. Let me say this for those of you who profess to know a higher power. I want to be just a fly on the wall when you roll up to the pearly gates and you say to Peter, hey, Peter, let me in. And you know what the response may well be? Who you? Who you? I know you not. I don't know who you are. You sure you got the right place? And now, for those of you who are irritated, welcome to my world. To those of you who say, all y'all talk about is racism, think about how those of us who experience it feel. Think about that. Ms. Speaker, thank you for this opportunity. You do what y'all always do, but just know that at the end of the day, there is someone who sits high and looks low. And that's what keeps me in here. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Cobb Hunter. Mr. Grant is recognized to speak on the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. If I see a black pilot, I'm going to be like, boy, I hope she's qualified. Direct quote from Charlie Kirk, January 23rd, 2024. If you're a WNBA, pot smoking, black lesbian, do you get treated better than a United States Marine? Charlie Kirk, December 8th, 2022. Happening all the time in urban America. Prowling blacks go around for fun to target white people. That's a fact. It's happening more and more. Charlie Kirk, May 19th, 2023. If I'm dealing with somebody in customer service who's a moronic black woman, I wonder if she's there because of her excellence or is she there because of affirmative action? The Charlie Kirk Show, January 3rd, 2024. If we would have said that Joy Reid and Michelle Obama and Sheila Jackson Lee and Ketanji Brown Jackson were affirmative action picks, we would have been called racist. Now they're coming out and they're saying it for us. You do not have the brain processing power to otherwise be taken really seriously. You had to go and steal a white person's slot to go be taken somewhat seriously. Charlie Kirk Show, July 13th, 2023. Ladies and gentlemen in the House, it has been eloquently said by Ms. Gilda Cobb Hunter, and I really didn't want to get up here and go after her after she just laid down the gospel. But it's important to hear direct words from who you are getting ready to honor and give a road after. Now, I understand very clearly that this is a local road, and we give respect and honor to those local areas. But let's also remember, there are African-American women, African-American men, all kinds of people who travel along those roads. Is that somebody you want to honor? Is that somebody where you want a small and minority business to open a business around? Because you're naming someone who had direct quotes that I just read from. That's not who we are as a state. That's not who we are as a people. So I would caution you, before you want to name all these roads behind people who have said such nasty, disgusting things about the people you see behind me, about the people you sit with, about the people you collaborate with to make sure that you do what's right for the state of South Carolina. What are you saying about us with this vote? What are you saying about the vote that's going to come up later to rename another road after Charlie Kirk? It's irritating. It's disrespectful. If you do not agree with those words, please reconsider what you're getting ready to do. But if you agree with those words, and it is a signature by the vote that you will take on green on the board, that lets us know how you feel about us.
All right, pending question is adoption of concurrent resolution 5573. Ms. Cobb Hunter requests a roll call to non-members second the request. Non-members do. Voting on the board for adoption of concurrent resolution 4573. Straight up vote. All right, time's expired, polls closed. Clerk tabulate by a vote of 75 to 31. The House concurs, adopts a concurrent resolution. That brings us to 5189 on page 11. Clerk will read.
By Representative Pope, naming Rock Hill intersection, McDowell Drive, Officer Stephen Wayne Jordan.
Pending question is adoption of concurrent resolution 5189. All in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed, ayes have it. Resolution is adopted. That brings us to the concurrent resolution 5190. Clerk will read.
By Representative Pope, Johnson Street, Officer Robert Morris McFadden.
Pending question is adoption of concurrent resolution 5190. All in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed, ayes have it. That brings us on bottom of page 11, House Bill 5191. Clerk will read.
By Representative Pope, York County again, Singleton Memorial.
Pending question is adoption of House Bill 5191. All in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed, ayes have it. Adoption, resolution is adopted. That brings us to, on page 12, House Bill 5199. Clerk will read.
Mr. Govan, Swansea, Wilbert Lee Jeffco.
Pending questions, adoption of concurrent resolution 5199. All in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed, ayes have it. The resolution is adopted. That brings us to House Resolution 5192. Clerk will read.
By Representative Pope, Rock Hill, York County again, Officer Robert Gilmore Johnson.
Pending questions, adoption of 5192. All in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed, ayes have it. That brings us on the bottom of page 12, House Resolution 5000. Clerk will read.
Representative Dan Gibson, 5,000. Charlie Kirk Memorial Bridge.
Mr. King requests a roll call. The non-members second the request. Non-members do. Voting on the board for adoption of concurrent resolution 5000. All right, time's expired, polls closed. Clerk will tabulate by a vote of 75-29. The House adopts concurrent resolution 5000. That brings us to House Resolution 5176. Clerk will read.
Willis, Lawrence, Judge Joseph Wilson McGowan III.
The question is adoption of House Resolution 5176. All in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed, ayes have it. The resolution is adopted. That brings us to House Resolution 4982. Clerk will read.
4982, Ms. Crawford and others. This is the future 73 President Donald J. Trump Highway. This is an amendment. Two amendments have been tendered. Number one, Mr. King. Amendment number one, Mr. King.
Mr. King's recognized to speak on amendment number one. Mr. King.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and colleagues. My amendment just actually honors the person who the president that actually has spent some money on Highway 73, and I think it would be most befitting that we name it after the person who has invested under their leadership as the president of this country, under the $10 million under the Recovery Act, and that is former President Barack.
Mr. King, hold on a second, please. The amendment's not showing up. Blake, is it on the computers? All right. Okay. If you need a copy. All right, Mr. King, you're recognized.
Thank you. The president that has shown financial interest under their administration, and that is President Barack Obama, up under the American Recovery and Investment Act of 2012, there was a $10 million investment during that time up under his administration. I think that and feel that it is most befitting to honor him with the naming of the highway. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. move for its passage.
All right, Mr. King moves for adoption of amendment number 1. Miss Crawford moves to table it. Mr. King requests a roll call to non-members second the request. Non-members do. Voting on the board, tabling motion. All right, have all members voted? Any objection, cutting roll call short? Any objection? Hearing none, polls closed. Clerk tabulate by a vote of 78 to 30. Amendment number 1 is tabled. That brings us to amendment number 2.
Yes, sir. Number 2 is by Mr. King as well. Number 2.
Mr. King is recognized to explain amendment number 2. Mr. King.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and colleagues. And since you did not like it that way, so we do know that President Obama invested into this state in Highway 73 through the American Recovery Act. And you all feel that the current president, Donald Trump, has talked about it, but has not actually invested any money in it. But to accomplish this and to honor the people who we both believe should be honored, then we should name it after both President Obama and President Donald Trump. And I move for its passage.
All right, pending question is adoption of Amendment 2. Ms. Crawford moves to table the amendment, and Mr. King requests a roll call. Do non-members second that request? Non-members do. Voting on the board, tabling motion. All right, have all members voted? All members voted. Any objection, cutting roll call short? Hearing none, polls closed. Clerk tabulate by a vote of 81 to 30. House tables amendment number 2. No further amendments pending question. Yes, Ms. McDaniel speaking on the resolution. Ms. McDaniel, you're recognized.
Mr. Speaker, before anyone says whether or not what I'm about to say is germane or not, it's what I must do to preference. Mr. Speaker, can I get some order? Thank you. So I must read this to preference what I need to say. The Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? The Lord is the stronghold of my life. Whom shall I be afraid? When the wicked advanced against me to devour me, it is my enemies and my foes who will stumble and fall. Though an army besiege me, my heart would not fear. The war break out against me, even then I shall be confident. One thing I will ask of the Lord, this only do I seek, that I may dwell in the house of the Lord all the days of my life, to gaze on the beauty of the Lord and to seek him in his temple. For in the day of trouble, he will keep me safe in his dwelling. He will hide me in the shelter of his sacred tent and set me high upon a rock. Then when my head will be exalted above the enemies who surround me, at his sacred tent I will sacrifice with shouts of joy. I will sing and make music to the Lord. Hear my voice when I call, Lord. Be merciful to me and answer me. My heart says of you, seek his face. Your face, then, Lord, I will seek. Do not hide your face from me. Do not turn your servant away in anger. You have been my helper. Do you reject me or forsaken me, God, my Savior? Though my father and my mother forsake me, the Lord will receive me. Teach me your way, Lord. Lead me in a straight path because of my oppressors. Do not turn me over to the desires of my foes, for false witnesses rise up against me, spouting malicious accusations. I remain confident of this. I will see the goodness of the Lord in the land of the living. Wait for the Lord. Be strong and take heart, and wait for the Lord. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Ms. McDaniel. Pending question now is adoption of 4982. Somebody Mr. King requests a roll call to 9 members second that request. 9 members do. Voting on adoption of resolution 4982. All right, have all members voted? Any objection, cutting roll call short? Hearing none, polls closed. Clerk will tabulate by a vote of 76-28. The House adopts Resolution 4982. That brings us to the last resolution, 5084. Clerk will read.
5084, Representative Williams, Donald J. Trump. 4482.
5084.
5084, I'm sorry. Wrong one. There we go. This is Mr. Williams and Luck, Hartsville.
All right, pending question is adoption of concurrent resolution 5084. All in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed, ayes have it. Adoption resolution is adopted. All right, Mr. Forrest moves to recur the morning hour. All in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed, ayes have it. Clerk will read.
Committee reports LCI favorable with amendment House Bill 4817, Mr. Brewer.
Committee report.
Merle Smith and Weeks honoring Reagan Preparatory Christian Academy.
Mr. Keyshawn Scott moves to add the roll of the House. Is there an objection? Hearing none, adopted.
Lassinger and many others dealing with God of Abraham, Isaac. Schools.
Refer to the Education Committee.
Ms. Davis, Chronic Kidney Disease Awareness Month.
Ms. Davis requests unanimous consent to add the roll of the House. Is there an objection? Hearing none, adopted.
Representative Harris, partisan primary elections.
Refer to the Judiciary Committee.
White, Moore, Public Utilities.
Refer to the LCI Committee.
Wetmore, relating to employer immunity with expunged criminal records.
Refer to the Judiciary Committee.
Senate 694, Senator Young, Aiken County only.
Refer to the Aiken delegation.
Senate 715, Senator Sutton. Professional solicitors.
Refer to the LCI Committee.
Mr. Pace, voting in political primaries.
Refer to the Judiciary Committee.
Mr. White, gasoline user fee distribution.
Refer to the Ways and Means Committee. Mr. Newton, Mr. Johnson, come up here, please. Jeff Johnson. All right. Any further announcements before we leave? Mr. Hosey? Mr. Hosey, for what purpose do you rise?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that when we adjourn today, that we adjourn in memory of Mrs. Doretha Gillis Bishop of Barnwell, South Carolina. She passed in December. She was 111 years old.
Mr. Hosey moves that when we adjourn today, we adjourn in the memory of Doretha Gillis Bishop, who was 111 years old, did you say? 111 years old. So ordered. All right, Mr. Wickensheimer is recognized for a special announcement. Members, listen up. This is important. Mr.
Sorry about that. One of our colleagues, Representative Rivers, lost his sister. He just walked out the door. But I'd like for us just to have a moment of silence, have a funeral coming up, and I think Representative Rivers will be speaking at that funeral. So join with me in a moment of silence in behalf of her memory, please.
All right, members and guests, please rise for a moment of silence for Representative Rivers' sister. Please bow your heads. Thank you, Mr. Wickensheimer. All right, members, I think, does anyone else have any announcements before we adjourn? 6:07. All right, Mr. Hosey said the Richland County delegation meets at Howard. I have now, Mr. Hosey, I am continuing to insult you by calling you Mr. Howard Hughes, so I apologize. So, all right, hold on. All right, Mr. Howard says the Richland County delegation has a meeting at room 607 of the Gressett building. Did I get that right? All right, and then there is a 3M Municipal and Public Affairs meeting immediately after adjournment in block 427. And then, members, I want to remind you, Monday is session, so we're here on Monday at 1 p.m. And I want to remind members also, if you got amendments, please, please, please work with staff over the weekend, because it's very difficult for them to get inundated at the last minute for amendments. And also, if you have lots of amendments, if y'all remember last year, please get those to the desk in time for them to process them, because if you remember last year, we all had to wait for about an hour and a half because the amendments came up at the last minute and we were not able to get them processed to be read across the desk, because you remember they have to collate and put them in the sections of the budget. It's not dated 1, 2, 3 that's got to go in each section of the budget. So y'all please make sure your amendments are timely placed on the desk and not pulling it out at the last minute. So any further business? Hearing none, Mr. Hickson moves the House to now adjourn. All in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed, the House stands adjourned to meet Monday at 1 p.m. Y'all have a good weekend.
Cannot live within 1,000 feet of a bus stop, and so the committee amendment would change the Department of Health and Environmental Control to the Department of Behavioral and Health and Development Disabilities in that section. So that's what the amendment would do. It's just a little technical amendment, but the overall bill is grandfathering. If you already live within 1,000 feet of a bus stop, they're not required to move. However, if there's a bus stop within that area, a registered sex offender cannot live or move to within 1,000 feet of that bus stop. And so the schools are responsible for keeping update of those sex offenders and also notifying the families of those bus stops if there's already currently a sex offender living in the area.
Senator from Richland, Senator Walker, what purpose do you ask?
The Senator from Berkeley would yield for a question.
Senator, yield for a question?
I will.
Senator yields for a question.
And Senator, with this bill, it doesn't apply to all bus stops, but just school
bus stops, correct.
Okay, just wanted to make sure that other members of the body understood that this was not just applying to all bus stops, but specifically bus stops designated for
That's true.
schools.
I might have forgot to mention that, but in my head, I saw a yellow bus.
Absolutely. Thank you, Senator.
Pending question is the adoption of the amendment. Senator from Charleston, Senator Lieber, what purpose do you ask?
If the senator will yield for a question.
Senator yield for a question?
I will.
Senator yields for a question.
I'm trying to get a copy of this amendment, just to check it out real quick.
And I believe there's another amendment coming, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, so I'm not concerned about this. So there's another amendment coming. Okay.
Yes.
The pending question is the adoption of the committee amendment. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Ayes have it. The committee amendment is adopted. We have an additional amendment. The bill is now contested. Senator from Charleston, Senator Lieber, what purpose do you ask, sir?
Parliamentary inquiry.
State your inquiry.
I think this bill was just contested by whom?
Informed us the senator from Colleton has. We continue in our calendar. Page 20, S 962 by the Agricultural and Natural Resources Committee. The reading clerk will please read.
A joint resolution to approve regulations of Clemson University relating to honeybees.
Pending question. Senator from Horry, Senator Hembry, what purpose do you ask?
See that the chairman of the Agricultural Committee is not on the floor. I would move to carry this resolution over.
Motion is to carry over S 962. All those in favor would say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The bill's carried over. We go to the page 22. S 222. S 222 by the senator from Calhoun. Have a committee amendment. Senator from Calhoun, what purpose do you ask, sir?
Just unanimous consent to carry it over, Mr. President.
With the bill? Motion is to carry over the bill. Well, I mean, you make it unanimous consent. Is there objection to the unanimous consent request to carry over S-222? Hearing no objection, so ordered. Bill. Senator from Greenville, Senator Corbin, what purpose do you ask?
Point of order.
State your point.
And the unanimous consent request.
State your unanimous consent request.
Mr. President, we've dealt with S-222, but on page 22 is S-371 and S-831, which I believe have not been on the calendar the required amount of time to be debated. And unanimous consent to take them in bulk.
So you're raising a point on the S-831 that's before us. So
Yes.
24-hour point under Rule 39. That point of order is sustained. That completes the call of the uncontested calendar. We're now in the motion period. Senator from Edgefield, what purpose do you rise, sir?
Mr. President, I move to dispense the balance of the motion period.
Motion is to dispense with the balance of the motion period. All those in favor would say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Senator from Edgefield, what purpose do you rise, sir?
Mr. President, I think we've probably completed what we needed to complete for today, and I know there's some work going on this afternoon as well. So if there are any introductions or unanimous consent requests or announcements, now would be the time to get to those. I got you.
We'll continue in the calendar. Before we go to the next category, Senator from Charleston, Senator Tedder, what purpose do you rise?
Rise for introduction.
Recognized for introduction. Senator from Charleston, Senator Tedder, joined by the Senator from Greenville, Senator Elliott.
Thank you, Mr. President. And members, we have some special guests in the balcony. Bon Secours Mercy Health Hospital of the Day, March 5th, 2026. Today, the General Assembly is joined by Bon Secours Mercy Health. In the balcony, we have Mr. Matt Caldwell, President of Bon Secours St. Francis Health System, Joseph DeLeon, President of Roper St. Francis Health System. Ladies and gentlemen, this system footprint, as you know, includes Bon Secours St. Francis Health in Greenville and Roper St. Francis in Charleston. In the upstate, Bon Secours employs about 4,500 people locally, making it the third largest employer in Greenville County. In Charleston, they have nearly 7,000 teammates. And also, I do want to point out, under the leadership of Mr. DeLeon, who's done a fantastic job, we have a new North Charleston Hospital campus project that is expected to generate about $2.5 billion, billion with the B, in economic impact once operational. I had a chance to tour this facility, or at least with all the technology now, to see how it would look before it's built. And when I say state-of-the-art facilities from Bon Secours System and what you all do, Mr. President and CEO, great job, fantastic. And I appreciate you for allowing, we held a neighborhood town hall so that constituents could come and understand for themselves and ask questions and understand what exactly is going on, how many jobs will be brought, how it would affect traffic, et cetera. And so that just shows the openness that you all have to involving the community and all stakeholders in the process, and we greatly appreciate that and your transparency and your leadership. Thank you.
Welcome to the Senate. We're delighted to have you visiting with us today. Please join us in recognizing. Senator from Charleston, Senator Tedder, what purpose do you rise?
Unanimous consent request.
State your request.
Return to the box.
Is there objection? You withdraw the unanimous for right now?
I'll withdraw that unanimous consent request till after we do this bill.
Thank you so much. That takes us to special order. Page 3, H 3858. The reading clerk will please read. We have an amendment on the desk. On third reading, Senator from Charleston, Senator Campson, what purpose do you rise?
Be recognized to ask for a Rule 26 and also to explain the amendment.
You're recognized for a brief explanation of your amendment. Senator from Charleston.
Thank you, Mr. President. In a few moments, I'm going to ask for leave to adopt an amendment on third reading of the boat bill, the boat tax bill that we passed yesterday. And I want to explain to you why. We're doing that because under the language that we adopted, it could be ruled that you have to have your $10 stick-it on an outboard motor, even if the outboard motor is not on your boat, is not on a boat. If you just have an outboard motor, sitting on a rack. I have 2 outboard motors sitting on my rack to make sure I can still hunt through duck season if one of the engines goes down. And but there are a lot of folks who have outboard motors and they don't even intend to use them. They may just be parts, use them for parts. And so this is something that kind of was realized overnight. And so what the amendment does is it ensures that outboard motors that are not in operation, if they're sitting in a garage, an antique motor collector, et cetera, they're not going to be subject to the $10 annual registration. The registration will only be applicable to motors that are actually in operation. And so that's what the amendment would do.
Is there objection to taking up the amendment on third reading? Hearing no objection, so ordered. The pending question is the amendment that's before us. The senator from Lawrence, what purpose do you rise?
I just have a question for the senator from Charleston.
Senator, yield for a question?
Senator,
Senator, yield for a question?
I'll yield, yes.
Senator yields.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Senator. Waters of the state, I'm sure, have a definition, but I want to make sure that waters of the state don't include waters in a 55-gallon drum.
No, they don't. They need to be navigable waters.
Understand navigable waters.
Well,
I've
from
just
a
related.
regulatory standpoint, they can actually not be navigable when it comes to permits to build something on.
Well, all around my district, I see lots of motors that are in the aforementioned status.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well,
sitting on a sawhorse and have a 55-gallon drum full of water under them.
yeah, that's what you use to get the salt water out of the engine, yeah. Thank you.
The pending question is the adoption of the amendment. All those in favor would say aye. Opposed, no. Ayes have it. The amendment is agreed to by the city. Question is third reading of the bill. Senator from Ori, Senator Rankin, what purpose do you rise?
To request a roll call on third reading.
Roll call has been requested to 5 members. Yeah, we had the amendment that was substantial, so I rule that as substantial, so a roll call will be required. Senator from Anderson, Senator Gambrill, what purpose do you rise?
I'd like to request leave for the senator from Georgetown.
From Georgetown, Senator Goldfinch has leave. Senator from Richland, Senator Devine, what purpose do you rise?
Unanimous consent request.
State your request.
Leave for the senator from Colleton, Senator Matthews.
Senator Matthews has, without objection, has leave. Senator from Berkeley, Senator Adams, what purpose do you rise?
Unanimous consent.
State your request, sir.
Leave for the senator from Spartanburg, Senator Kimbrell.
Without objection, Senator from Spartanburg, Senator Kimbrell has leave. Reading clerk will call the roll on third reading of H 3858, page 3.
Mr. Adams. Aye. Mr. Alexander. Aye. Mr. Allen. Aye. Mr. Bennett. Aye. Mr. Blackman. Aye. Mr. Bright. Aye. Mr. Campson. Aye. Mr. Cash. Aye. Mr. Chaplin. Aye. Mr. Clymer. Aye. Mr. Corbin. Aye. Mr. Cromer. Votes aye. Mr. Davis has leave. Mrs. Devine. Aye. Mr. Elliott. Aye. Mr. Fernandez. Aye. Mr. Gamble. Aye. Mr. Garrett. Aye. Mr. Goldfinch has leave. Mr. Graham. Mr. Graham not voting. Mr. Grooms. Aye. Mr. Hembry. Aye. Mr. Hutto. Aye. Mr. Jackson. Aye. Mr. Johnson. Aye. Mr. Kennedy. Aye. Mr. Kimbrell has leave. Mr. Lieber. Mr. Lieber votes aye. Mr. Martin has leave. Mr. Massey. Aye. Mrs. Matthews has leave. Mr. Ott. Aye. Mr. Peeler. Aye. Mr. Rankin. Aye. Mr. Rickenbaugh. Aye. Mr. Rice. Aye. Mr. Sabb. Aye. Mr. Stubbs. Aye. Mr. Sutton. Aye. Mr. Tedder. Aye. Mr. Turner. Aye. Mr. Verdon. Aye. Mr. Walker. Mr. Walker votes no. Mr. Williams. Aye. Mr. Young. Aye. Mr. Zell. Aye.
Have all members recorded your vote? Third reading. Final call. The polls are closed. The clerk will please tabulate. By a vote of 39-1, H 3858 is given a third reading of the Senate. Senator from Charleston, Senator Tedder, what purpose do you raise, sir?
Unanimous consent request.
State your request.
At an appropriate time, we return to the box.
Is there objection to returning to the box? Any objection? Hearing no objection, we'll return to the box. The reading clerk will please read.
Introduction of a bill by Senator Tedder. It adds a section to the code requiring institutions of higher education to make available opioid and fentanyl prevention education, require training for residence hall staff on the administration of naloxone, and authorize institutions of higher education to obtain and maintain opioid overdose reversal medication.
Senator from Charleston, Senator Tedder, what purpose do you raise, sir?
Unanimous consent to give brief introductory remarks.
You're recognized for introductory remarks. You're recognized up to 3 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members of the Senate, the bill that you just heard be read across the desk, across our country and here in South Carolina, the opioid and fentanyl crisis continues to claim lives at an alarming rate. This bill takes a common sense step to help protect our students on college campuses. It ensures that institutions of higher education provide opioid and fentanyl awareness information to students, that residence hall staffs are trained in how to administer naloxone, and that campuses are authorized and have the permissive opportunity to maintain this life-saving medication so that it is available when it is needed most. I also want to take a moment to recognize in the balcony Shelby Drafts, who is a dedicated advocate, you can stand, in our community, who helped bring this issue to my attention as she continues to work across the state to raise awareness about overdose prevention and protecting young people. She's also Miss Golden Corner 2026, and I just want to thank you for bringing this to our attention, this important issue to help our young children, particularly in higher education, and the prevention of these instances. And so, members, this legislation is about education, preparedness, and saving lives. It is a practical step that empowers our campuses to respond in a moment of crisis. I would ask for your support, and thank you again. Thank you, Mr. President.
Welcome to the Senate. This bill is being referred to the Education Committee. Reading clerk will continue. Senator from Richland, Senator Walker, what purpose do you rise?
Unanimous consent request.
State
Mr.
your
President.
request.
Request leave for the senator from Kershaw, Senator Graham.
Without objection, Senator Graham has leave. Reading clerk will continue to read.
Further introduction of a bill by Senators Elliott, Ott, Devine, Zell, and Sutton. It amends the code by adding a section so as to provide the eviction filings and records that include personal information of a defendant are automatically removed from the public index after 5 years if no subsequent evictions or ejectments have occurred.
The bill has been referred to the Judiciary Committee.
Introduction of a bill by Senator Gamble amends the code so as to address continuous quality improvement programs implemented by pre-hospital clinicians, including confidentiality and privilege of data and reports, establish certain penalties for unauthorized use of information, and for other purposes.
The bill will be referred to the Medical Affairs Committee. The desk is clear. Senator from Berkeley, Senator Grooms, what purpose do you rise?
Purpose of an announcement.
You're recognized for an announcement.
I'd like to remind the members that the Constitutional Subcommittee of the Finance Committee will be meeting immediately upon adjournment in room 308 in the Gressett Building.
308. The Senate is so informed. Thank you. Senator from Richland, Senator Devine, what purpose do you rise?
For point of personal interest.
You're recognized. Up to 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the Senate. Senator from Colleton, Senator Bright Matthews is not here today, so I thought I would stand in her stead and give today's Women's History Month moment. So today I rise to honor Dr. Vivian Ayers Allen, a renowned poet, Pulitzer Prize nominated author, educator, and cultural activist that was born in Chester, South Carolina. Dr. Ayers Allen was a proud graduate of the historic Brainerd Institute in Chester, and she spent her life proving what happens when brilliance is paired with purpose. She published Spice of Dawns, a poetry collection that earned the Pulitzer Prize nomination recognition, and she later authored Hawk, a visionary book-length poem that explored the freedom and space travel so powerfully that it was praised by NASA. But her legacy was not only on the page, but it was in the life that she lived that touched and the institutions that she built. In Houston, she helped open doors in higher education, including becoming Rice's University first Black full-time faculty member. And back home here in South Carolina, she devoted herself to preserving and restoring the Brainerd Institute in which she graduated. She transformed that 12-acre historic site into a living hub for arts and education through her programs, such as workshops in open fields. Many also know Dr. Ayers Allen as the mother of two iconic artists, choreographer, director, and producer Debbie Allen, and award-winning actress Felicia Rashad, the first Black woman to win a Tony Award for Best Actress in a Play. Debbie Allen and Felicia Rashad still call South Carolina part of their heritage, and they recognize the love that their mom had for this great state. Dr. Ayers Allen passed away last year in August at the age of 102. And at her passing, there was a celebration here in Chester County, and she is buried right on the grounds of the Brainerd Institute. This great woman was not only recognized nationally but internationally, spent much time in historic sites like Mexico and the Bahamas, but always called South Carolina home and will continue to be in our lives here. So, Mr. President and members of the Senate, today I just wanted us to recognize a South Carolina native, that her impact was known not only here nationally in South Carolina, but nationally. She was a poet, educator, cultural guardian, and a true Women's History Month trailblazer, and a daughter of South Carolina.
Thank you, Senator from Richland. Senator from Edgefield, what purpose do you rise, sir?
Mr. President, to see if anyone has any additional unanimous consent requests or announcements.
Don't believe I see any.
Mr. President, I move the Senate do now adjourn.
Motion is that the Senate do now adjourn. All those in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The Senate will stand adjourned to meet at 12 o'clock noon Tuesday.
Or evacuation at this time. There are currently no United States evacuation points. Please continue to check the embassy's website for updated information in the event of ongoing military action.
Oh, what does that say to you?
I mean, again, I know we're used to covering administrations that make mistakes that are basically competent. I mean, the underlying story here is a White House and a Department of Defense that have no idea what they're doing on an hour-to-hour basis. You have children. You have, people who just were like MAGA trolls online, holding significant positions in the American national security infrastructure. And so, of course, the day that the Iranian bombs and missiles start falling on American targets in the Middle East, the hotline says, do not call us. We have no plans to help you. Because you got 22-year-olds who are in charge of this business. I know that's hard to hear for Americans, but that's the reality. And apparently they are now scurrying to try to get some Americans out, but they're going to have a hard time because they frankly should have gotten Americans out before the bombing started. Everybody knew what was about to happen. It wasn't like this was a big secret. The carrier groups were poised to strike. They could have spent that week ahead of the strikes getting Americans out of harm's way. And now you may have American civilians, not just American soldiers, dying because of the gross incompetence of this administration. That should make people in this country furious.
Senator Murphy, thank you very much indeed for joining us.
Thank you.
We turn now to the havoc raining down on America's allies in the Gulf. The U.S. has closed its embassies in Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, and Lebanon, and is telling Americans to leave. Now, after an outcry over telling Americans not to rely on the government for assistance, the State Department now says the U.S. is committed to helping. Meantime, as Iran continues to target energy infrastructure, the price of oil and gas is rising. Qatar's biggest gas producer has decided to stop production, and exports are effectively halted for now. China is warning now the war is threatening global energy supplies. Overnight, Saudi Arabia intercepted and destroyed 2 cruise missiles, as well as 9 drones. That's according to their state media. The CIA station in Riyadh was also hit this week, and the U.S. Embassy was struck by 2 suspected Iranian drones. The kingdom has condemned Tehran's, quote, flagrant behavior and says it, quote, reserves the option to respond. Prince Turki Al Faisal is Saudi Arabia's former intelligence chief and a former ambassador to Washington and London, and he's joining us now from Riyadh. Prince Turki, welcome back to the program. We always seek your wisdom and your knowledge, even though you're not a government official. So let me ask you what you think Saudi Arabia is going to do, and why you think Iran is targeting Saudi Arabia and other Gulf states.
Thank you very much, Ms. Amanpour. It's always good to be back with you. I watched the first section of your show, and it was very informative on the American side of what is happening. The kingdom has plainly stated its rejection of all of the Iranian activity that is taking place in the area, not only against Saudi Arabia, but against the whole Gulf states and even farther afield. As you mentioned in your former section of the event, even Turkey has been, at least a missile went into its airspace. So the dangers of expanding and widening the conflict exist at the moment. And there has to be a stop to it. Unfortunately, I don't think that the bombing campaign that the Americans and the Israelis have begun is going to put a stop to that. Whatever information I have, which I gleaned from published accounts and statements from officials, is that the Iranians are pretty well stocked with missiles and drones and have been preparing for this kind of eventuality, not only by the time of the last conflict in June, but even from before that. So we're in for a long haul, if you like, not just on the American side, but also on the Iranian side. One thing I must make clear, Ms. Amanpour, is that here in the area we're facing two agendas, both of them apocalyptic. One from Israel, which is the Greater Israel agenda. This has been talked about by Netanyahu and by other Israeli officials. Israel wants to expand from the Nile River to the Euphrates. And the other one, of course, is the Iranian agenda, which is the return of the absent Imam who disappeared something like 7 or 8 centuries ago, and he will come back and make the world a peaceful place and prepare for the coming of Christ. The third agenda that is affecting us and which has impact in the United States and in other places is the Christian Zionist agenda, which wants to see a return of the Messiah and the existence of Israel in their theology and their terminology is necessary for that to happen. So we are, if you like, in the middle of these three agendas that are operating to expand their vision onto the rest of us. And the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, of course, works with its Gulf allies to try to put a stop to all this bloodshed and carnage that is taking place.
I just want to pick up on what you said about the apocalyptic visions, because you've mentioned, from the Israeli perspective, from the Iranian perspective, and from the American perspective. And in fact, this week, there have been reports and complaints by many American officers and soldiers through their chain of command about being told that US troops war on Iran is part of Armageddon. So that's what they have been told in some of their units and in some of their bases by their commanding officers. So that goes to what you just said. But I want to ask you this. The Washington Post has reported that your Crown Prince, MBS, was privately urging Trump to actually attack Iran. Now, Saudi Arabia denies this, but what do you think? There's no love lost between Iran and Saudi Arabia. It's clear that everybody, including Gulf states, including the US and Israel, thought that Iran had been pretty fatally wounded and crippled by all the activity against it over the last year. Do you think it would have been a message from MBS to go ahead and do this?
I doubt it very much. The kingdom's leadership has consistently always held to their public positions in private sessions with other officials, including with Mr. Trump. And when the Crown Prince was in Washington, I'm sure they discussed all these issues, and he laid things bare on that issue. At that time, of course, the conflict in Iran had not yet started, but definitely it must have arisen in the discussions. And you know, American media seems to contradict itself. I think a couple of weeks ago there were reports that Saudi Arabia was aligning itself with Iran against Israel. And now we see they're saying that Saudi Arabia is urging America to bomb Iran. So I think there is disinformation being spread, unfortunately, I think, by Israeli spokespeople or officials in order to show that it is not just Israel that has been urging America to take action against Iran.
I want to ask you about what appears to be some surprise in the region, maybe in Saudi Arabia, in Qatar, some anger about the response by Iran. This is what President Trump said yesterday. Take a listen.
Amazingly, they're hitting countries that were, you know, let's call them neutral, right? They lived together for a long time. I think they were surprised. I was surprised. I think and now those countries are all fighting against them and fighting strongly against them.
From an intelligence point of view, I mean, Iran did basically say that it was going to hit out at these places that host, you know, American bases and hold them responsible as well. Are you surprised at the extent of Iran's retaliation?
Well, I am surprised at the president's surprise. Respectfully, I would recall that the Crown Prince and other Gulf leaders have been urging America not to undertake military action against Iran because all of us believe that that action will not remain confined to Iran, that Iran will retaliate against American presence in the area, which is present in all of the Gulf states and as far away as Turkey, apparently. So if he was surprised, I don't think Saudi or other Gulf leaders were surprised. They've been warning the Americans not to undertake military action and suffer the consequences.
You know, for a long time, Saudi leaders and other Arab leaders in the Gulf states have told their people that you're hosting American bases because it's in your interest, because it will protect you as well. Now you're being attacked, as Iran signaled you would be, and I don't see much defense coming to you all. Yes, defense to Israel, but do you feel you are being defended? Is hosting American bases a long-term viable situation anymore, do you think? Can you all trust America and its defensive posture for you?
Well, that's why I can talk about what I see is happening in Saudi Arabia. That's why Saudi Arabia has been trying to buttress and expand its military capabilities in order to be able to defend itself, and developing a military industry in the kingdom so that we don't have to go to the outside world like America or Europe to purchase weapons and so on. But we also work with our Gulf states partners in order to try to form some kind of common command, and that's been a long time coming, and I'm sure the present situation will hasten the formation of some kind of pan-Gulf defense command to protect the Gulf states. Mm-hmm. The Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, you know, in the last Trump administration, back in 2019, if you remember, we were bombed by Iranian missiles at that time. And Mr. Trump at the time did not offer any support at that time. So it is no surprise for the kingdom that he is not coming to our help, if you like, as far as I can see. I don't know what is happening on official circles, but definitely the whole issue of more bloodshed and more destruction is anathema to the kingdom.
I want to ask
the kingdom is on a course of social and you know industrial and commercial development. We want to continue on that route instead of having military conflicts in the area.
I want to ask you because, let's face it, Saudi Arabia is the guardian of the Sunni faith, called the guardian of the two holy mosques. Iran is pretty much the guardian of the Shia faith. There is a clash between you two. Do you believe that the assassination of the so-called supreme leader can collapse the regime, collapse the raison d'etre? Do you believe that it can eventually lead to the uprising of people in Iran? Because Trump has moved back from regime change.
Well, I would put it another way. You know, the kingdom has Shia citizens as well as Sunni citizens. Iran itself has Sunni citizens as well as Shia citizens. So I would not put it so starkly as a difference between Sunnah and Shia. But definitely, I don't think that the system in Iran will collapse anytime soon. As I said, the Iranian leadership has been preparing for an eventuality like this because of what they have continued to hear from Mr. Netanyahu in the past 40 years. He has been calling for the destruction of Iran, and so the Iranians obviously, took note of that and have been preparing themselves for such an eventuality. And as we see in the news already, they're in the process of electing a new so-called leader to succeed Khamenei. They've already set up an interim leadership of 3 personalities from the leadership. So the system, I think, the only way that the system will go, I think, it will be through the Iranian people. It is they, in the end, who will decide what is going to happen in their country. And, Mr. Murphy mentioned that, President Trump promised support for the uprising that took place, etc., and then he backed away. And then what I found very startling, of course, is that Mr. Murphy was saying that maybe they should put troops on the ground to help the uprising against the Ayatollahs. So even there, there is confusion on the American side as to what should be done.
He didn't say put them. He said that's the only way it could because it's never happened from the air. But I want to ask you a final and quick question. People are saying that Israel stands to be the biggest winner out of all of this. Do you think that's the case? And do you think that it makes normalization between Israel and Saudi Arabia any closer?
Well, forget normalization, let alone what Israel is doing in Gaza and the West Bank. This is Netanyahu's war. You talked about the dog and the tail, who's wagging who. It is definitely Mr. Netanyahu who, as you mentioned, 7 trips to America, and obviously he somehow convinced the president to support his views. And so Netanyahu has been trying to do this in order to get away from the murky and terrible conduct that he led Israel into, not just in Gaza, but in the West Bank and internally. He wants to change the constitution of Israel to allow him to undertake whatever he wants to do without check. So that is why he has been pushing for this war, is to drive people's attention away from what is happening on the ground in Palestine. And as I said, there is that agenda of a greater Israel from the Nile to the Euphrates. So you can imagine what that entails.
All right. Always really important to have your perspective, Prince Turki Al Faisal. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Rifts are also opening up between Washington and its European allies, many of whom oppose the United States continuing offensive operations in Iran. Sir John Sawyers was foreign policy advisor to Prime Minister Tony Blair. He then served as UK ambassador to the United Nations and as head of the intelligence agency MI6. I asked him about the implications of Trump's fraying relationship with Europe and the apparent lack of planning beyond military strikes. Sir John Sawyers, welcome back to the program at this really critical time.
Thank you, Christian.
I want to ask you first from the British perspective. Trump has now openly criticised in front of another European leader, Chancellor Merz, Britain, saying that we're not dealing with Winston Churchill. He's very angry that Prime Minister Starmer didn't allow UK bases to be used in those first strikes by the Americans. Can I just play what Trump said?
There would have been much more convenient landing there as opposed to flying many extra hours. So we are very surprised. This is not Winston Churchill that we're dealing with.
I mean, you know, dagger to the heart, evoking the great wartime leader. Obviously, then Prime Minister Starmer did change his position. So, A, why did he change the position? And do you think it's legitimate to allow bases to be used? And B, can Britain recover? Can this Prime Minister recover from that kind of public attack?
Well, frankly, President Trump's not dealing with Winston Churchill, and Keir Starmer's not dealing with Franklin Roosevelt. You know, you have two very different characters in the leadership positions. I think Keir Starmer took a careful look at the plans as to the extent that he and the British officials understood them, and came to the conclusion that under British law, there was no legal basis for deploying our forces or for using our assets in support of this. He's taken a slightly complicated decision that we would not support offensive action, an attack on Iran. But as soon as Iran started attacking our friends and allies in the Gulf, the Omanis, the Emiratis, the Qataris and others, then we had defense obligations to those countries. And of course, Iran also attacked the British base in Cyprus. So in purely defensive terms, he changed his approach in terms of allowing US forces and indeed UK forces to operate in a defensive fashion.
Okay, so do you think that stands and it's a solid position? And again, can this Prime Minister, who's done his utmost and his best, bent over backwards to accommodate the very mercurial President Donald Trump, and has sort of kind of done pretty well, do you think that this is a rupture now, or will they get over it? What do you think?
I think they'll get over it. I've heard, usually in private, sharp differences of views in the past between presidents and prime ministers. I don't think this is a major issue. And frankly, as the Americans have demonstrated, they didn't actually need access to UK bases. It was just a convenience for them. Starmer faces political challenges from within his own party. He also is a firm believer in international law. You can question whether that's a sensible thing to elevate international law to such a high status, but that is nonetheless his position, his party's position. And look at the fallout as it affected Prime Minister Blair after the 2003 Iraq War, and that's in everybody's minds.
And that was actually going to be, you know, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. So you've just addressed that. The fallout was terrible. Britain has almost still not recovered from it. Prime Minister Blair's reputation has not recovered from, you know, going willingly with the United States. I'm very interested in what you say about international law. I'm personally quite troubled to hear a lot of officials like yourself, senior jurists, most specifically the American administration, say there is no international law.
Well, I didn't say that, Christiane, as you know.
You said there's a problem with elevating international law to this extent.
International law is not the same as domestic law. It's not the same as the rule of law at home. International law is it's a convention between consenting states. So if you have an agreement, this is how things will work, then you can frame that as international law. But I think it's wrong to think of it as an integral part of the rule of law within nations.
Well, so Putin could say, hey, man, you're telling me I'm breaking international law by invading Ukraine, but no.
Well, he certainly is breaking international law by invading Ukraine and breaking all the principles of the UN Charter about territorial integrity, about sovereignty and non-interference. And of course, one of the problems with this attack that the United States and Israel has launched against Iran is it does seem to put the Americans on the same basis vis-a-vis Iran as the Russians are vis-a-vis Ukraine. Now, you can make a difference there, and I would do so too, but it certainly pleases Putin that he's not the only one who's invading a neighboring country.
Do you think, and before I go back to the issue of this war in Iran, that Putin could think, well, hang on, at the beginning, I wanted to decapitate Zelensky. I wanted to decapitate the leadership. That was a stated Russian goal. Now I can. Trump has just given me permission. First with Maduro and now with Khamenei.
And I think this will be a worry for a lot of countries around the world, that abducting a president, decapitating a leadership in another country seems to have been legitimized by the United States. And I think Trump is probably the first president to think in those terms. There was an attempt at the beginning of the Iraq War in 2003 to assassinate Saddam Hussein. It failed as it happened, but that was part of the war plan. You could perhaps justify it in that sense, but it didn't happen. But I do think it's a dangerous path to go down, where you are attacking countries and attacking their leaderships. I mean, we haven't. I think it makes our own leaders vulnerable. President Trump has been a target of assassination attempts before. Maybe others will try it, and it's not a terribly good position for the United States to be in.
Can I ask you about what's been described as the rolling rationales for this war and the rolling inconsistencies from all members of the administration, the senior members from the president on down, to what might be the exit strategy or any strategy?
Well, the first thing to say, Christiane, is this is an unnecessary war. It was not required because it was not as if it was to preempt an imminent threat against the United States or indeed against Israel. The rationale, to the extent that there is one, is that it secures Israel for decades to come. That's what the Israelis think, and they would like to see the end of this Islamic Republic in Iran, and they think they will be much safer as a result. They might be right, but this will come at a cost. The very best outcome you can expect from the current conflict is that a successor leadership comes in and behaves differently from its predecessors. Now, that is what some in America are calling the Venezuela option. Not that I think it will be easy to find a Delcy Rodriguez in Iran. Iran is a deeply ideological country or regime. I think just as dangerous is the possibility that the regime might corrode or collapse and lose control of parts of the country. And then you could have a situation like the one we faced in Syria for the last year or so, where the country fragments into several different parts and local administrations crop up, often on an ethnic basis. There have been reports today of some activity in the Kurdish areas. We don't know exactly what it is yet. The Israelis, I think, struck some Iranian positions in Iranian Kurdistan in order perhaps to help provoke an insurgency, some unrest in the Kurdish area.
Okay, so CNN has been reporting that the CIA may be working to arm the Kurdish groups with the aim of fomenting such an uprising, put additional internal pressure, as you've just indicated, on the Iranian regime, create a buffer zone, all those kinds of things. From an intelligence perspective, from a foreign policy perspective, from a geostrategic perspective, is it in anybody's interest?
Well, it's a dangerous road to go down. You say whose interest might it be in? Well, I think the Kurds themselves in Iran would probably feel more free if they were not ordered about and told what language they can speak, what flags they can fly by Tehran. There's a parallel here with the Kurds in Iraq after the 1991 war, when the Iraqis did have an area which was a sort of safe haven. Which
well, that's only after the president then, George H.W. Bush, I was there, told them to rise up, and the Shiites, then they got slaughtered because the Americans didn't come and help them.
Exactly.
Then they had to spend 20 years giving them a no-fly zone, which was great. But do you think Trump is prepared to give the Kurds of Iran a 20-year no-fly zone?
No, I don't think he is, and I think it was as unwise of Trump to call on the Iranian people to rise up as it was unwise of George H.W. Bush to call on the Iraqi people to rise up in 1991. So just getting back to your point about fragmentation, if the country dissolves into component parts, it'll be basically a failed state, an ungoverned state.
Yes.
And we've known from the last sort of 40 years what happens in failed states. It becomes a center for terrorism, for smuggling, for gun running, for drugs, for criminality of all sorts, and it does pose a threat to other countries. I think it's in America's interest, and it's certainly in the interest of Europe, that this deeply unpleasant regime in Tehran should nonetheless be replaced by a regime which still has authority over the country, that you can hold it to account. Yes, we want to change Iran's behavior, but if you just dismantle the regime completely, you could end up with the sort of chaos that we've had to deal with in Afghanistan next door to Iran, or indeed in Lebanon and Libya and more recently in Syria. Now, I think there's a difference here between American interests and Israeli interests. Americans do need to be able to deal with a country the size of Iran one way or another. I think the Israelis are more willing to take a risk here. They've lived next to a failed state in Lebanon. Last year they've had close to a fragmented state in Syria, and they've contributed to that fragmentation. I think the Israelis would be quite happy to see a collapse of the system in Iran and let other people deal with it. But I can assure you that our friends in the Gulf, the Saudis, the Emiratis, the Qataris, the Turks, the Pakistanis, for the reasons you give, are going to be appalled by that. And the other thing that happens when a failed state emerges is that authority collapses and the people flee. Now, there are 90 million people in Iran. How many of those are going to flee to Turkey and try and make their way to Europe? How many million Iranian refugees is the United States prepared to accept as a consequence of this war? Those are unanswered questions because people are not looking down that road. Now, it's not clear that this is going to happen, but there's a risk of this happening. And the very best you can expect is a sort of Venezuela-type outcome. But there are plenty of other more dangerous outcomes coming from this.
But I want to ask you, because the latest is that NATO is now potentially implicated or drawn in. There was a missile that was fired towards Turkey, a NATO member, and NATO defense forces, anti-missile, brought it down before it could enter Turkish space. I mean, some debris did fall on Turkish territory. Are you worried about that? Are you worried about ever expanding, circles of this conflict?
I think this conflict has already expanded beyond what most people expected. I think the scale of the Iranian response has been greater than many anticipated. Perhaps wrongly, they should have anticipated.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, because they said it loud and clear.
Well, certainly, they said it loud and clear, and they warned the countries up and down the Gulf that if you get involved in this, we're going to hit you. And you can see the rationale from the Iranian point of view. They want to build up as much pressure as they can through America's friends in the Gulf, through energy markets and so on, in order to get Trump to call an end to this assault on their country and on their regime. Now, I don't have any sympathy with the Iranian regime whatsoever. I think it's a vile and vicious regime. But I just think that the experience of the last 25 years, whether it's on our side in Iraq and Afghanistan and Libya, or whether it's on other countries' side, like Russia's experience in Ukraine, is once you start a conflict like this, you may think it's only going to last 4 or 5 days or 4 or 5 weeks, but it has a habit of the reverberations spreading much more widely. And there's a real risk in this case of that happening. I think in some ways, the United States, in the confusion between various members of the administration, has rowed back on its objectives.
Well, they've coalesced around a different objective. This is not the objective that we were told.
The loose talk about regime change has gone, and they're now talking about...
You say loose talk. It was an actual war aim. President Trump said it many times. Netanyahu said it many times. They said it. That was a war aim.
It was, I say loose talk because it was loosely said with no willingness to follow it up. The only way you can achieve regime change in Iran is by putting ground troops in. And I sincerely hope the United States doesn't follow its initial mistake of launching this war with a second mistake of putting ground troops in.
So you think it's a mistake. If you think it's a mistake, which many do, many agree with you, certainly a war of choice, certainly one that means... Trump said, they were going to hit us first. No evidence of that. They have reconstituted their nuclear program. No evidence of that. They have intercontinental ballistic missiles that can reach us. They don't. So lots of flimsiness, despite the horrendousness of the regime against its own people. So how do you think, and Israel has just said, whoever Iran chooses as a successor to Khamenei will pretty much assassinate them, or we will. How does this end?
So Mr. Hegseth has set out in his own sort of emotional way, a commitment about missiles and nuclear. And now that gives the military targets they can hit and targets they can demonstrate have been destroyed. I think that will end up being the goal of the US administration. And as the pressure on the economy, on global markets ramps up, pressure on energy supplies, I think the president will feel that there's a time to declare, a time to finish this conflict. We'll wake up one morning, like we did last Saturday when we discovered suddenly this has started. We'll wake up one morning and find it's suddenly been finished. And I think that would be a sensible thing to do.
And yet it leaves the Iranian people, the majority of whom have wanted to see an end to this regime and thought that's what they were getting, and have been in the streets to an extent celebrating certainly the death of Khamenei and the rest. What do you think happens to them?
Well, we don't know exactly the mood of the Iranian people, except that it is very angry against their regime. The richness of the Iranian culture, strength of the Iranian economy has just been thrown away over the last 40 years. And I think there's a deep desire to see an end to the regime. But the idea that ordinary people unarmed on the streets, without leaders, without a militia, can take over is pie in the sky, is fantasy. So I don't think that's a realistic goal. I'm glad that the Pentagon have managed to wind back the goals so it's focuses on military.
They can be crushed. They can wind back whatever they want. They have encouraged people to take their fate in their hand, saying, we are giving you the conditions. Yeah. You've just said it's impossible, an unarmed people against a highly armed force. So what happens to them? Do you think the regime goes after them again?
Well, it depends how far they stick their heads above the parapet. I mean, the regime has already warned them that anybody who protests will be considered an agent of Israel and the United States. That's a pretty chilling warning to people about what will happen. And the terrible massacres of Iranian demonstrators after the last protests at the end of the turn of the year, I think that's something which is sunk deep into the minds of the Iranian people. They know that they've got a terrible regime and that there isn't a means of overthrowing it, not a simple means. If the regime was to collapse, maybe there's a possibility of creating something new in its place. But as I understand it, the regime has up to 1 million people in their security forces, in the IRGC, in the Basij militia and so on, who seem to be willing to use force against the Iranian people. It's a rough ballpark figure, but I have confidence it's about right, that is the right order of magnitude. The tens of thousands of people, it seems, were killed just earlier this year. So I think it's irresponsible to urge people to rise up when you're not offering them any support, any protection at all.
Sir John Soares, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you very much.
And finally, precious cultural heritage under fire, as well as the civilians caught up in this war. The Golistan Palace in downtown Tehran was damaged in the aftermath of a US-Israeli strike. That's according to Iranian state media. The magnificent mirrored halls are a symbol of Iranian culture dating back hundreds of years, and it's a UNESCO World Heritage Site. It was also where the last Shah was crowned in 1967, his 7-year-old son and heir, Reza Pahlavi, sitting by his side. Israel says an Iranian strike on the town of Beit Shemesh destroyed a synagogue and killed 9 people. UNESCO is sounding the alarm, reminding all parties that sites like these are protected under international law, trying to protect them themselves by sharing the coordinates of significant cultural locations. And that's it for our program tonight. If you want to find out what's coming up on the show every night, sign up for our newsletter at pbs.org/Amanpour. Thanks for watching, and goodbye from London.
Amanpour & Company is made possible by the Anderson Family Endowment, Jim Atwood and Leslie Williams, Candace King Weir, the Sylvia A. and Simon B. Poita Programming Endowment to Fight Anti-Semitism, the Strauss Family Foundation, the Peter G. Peterson and Joan Gantz Cooney Fund, Charles Rosenblum, Monique Schoen-Warshaw, Koo and Patricia Ewan, committed to bridging cultural differences in our communities, Barbara Hope Zuckerberg, and by contributions to your PBS station from viewers like you. Thank you.
You're watching PBS.
Join us for Startup's monumental 12th season.
Imposter syndrome, self-doubt.
We were eating a no for breakfast. We were eating a no for lunch.
There's a lot of times I wanted to quit.
What an opportunity to do what you love for a living. It's so unusual.
This is Startup.
We came across this intriguing story.
Things are starting to get going. Are you prepared?
It is a golden opportunity.
It's not over.
It will be all that you've dreamed of.
This is ETV World.
I'm David Weston. Join me each week on Wall Street Week for stories of capitalism from business, markets, economics, tech, and climate. We go on the road for a look at what lies behind the headlines of today and what will likely be the headlines tomorrow.
We need more transparency.
Oil and gas is still important.
They said every citizen should be investing in the market.
Accelerate progress in all fields of science.
Watch Wall Street Week right here on World. More than what you need to know, it's what you need to think about.
Live from London, this is BBC News.
Live from London, this is BBC News.
Live from London, this is BBC News.
Coming up,
we have to get through more and more people. This camp seems to grow every day.
Packed with people who've left their homes seeking shelter from the cyclone.
America's longest war. Did you feel?
History's going to write this story.
It's now so difficult to predict what happens next.
BBC News.
Next time on Stories from the Stage, Be the Change.
When I got that 9 a.m. call saying that he looked sick and had a temperature nearing 102, my mind went momentarily blank.
I think how lucky I was that day to have my sister with me. She's always been an outspoken person, and that day, she was my savior.
He said that was insulting at best. Can't you do better? You're smart. Create something for us. Our story, respectfully.
Go to the movies or visit the bookstore, and you'll see that war stories are everywhere, whether the protagonists are gods, superheroes, or human beings. But today's guest warns that the appeal of the good war story obscures the complexity of conflict and shapes the way we view current international tensions. She's Elizabeth D. Samet, this week on Story in the Public Square. Hello and welcome to A Story in the Public Square, where storytelling meets public affairs. I'm Jim Ludas from the Pell Center at Salve Regina University. And my guest this week is Elizabeth D. Samet, whose scholarship includes the book Looking for the Good War, American Amnesia and the Violent Pursuit of Happiness. Elizabeth is professor of English at the U.S. Military Academy at West Point, and we need to note that the views she expresses today are hers alone and do not reflect the official policy or position of the Department of the Army, the Department of Defense, or the U.S. government. With that, Elizabeth, I hope I got that right.
You did. Great to be with you, Jim.
Well, we're thrilled to have you here, and I mentioned this to you that you have this article in Foreign Affairs last fall, The Military Narrational Complex, What Stories Do in an Age of Conflict. And your insights were so wonderfully aligned with the whole idea behind this show that I had to reach out, and I'm thrilled that you're able to join us today.
Well, I'm very glad you did.
So central to that piece in Foreign Affairs is this insight: political violence and conflict call, and I'm quoting here, for a perspective beyond the realm of political science. In particular, you're talking about literature. And to borrow a line, you had me at hello. What is it that literature provides that political science or other more traditional national security related disciplines don't?
Well, part of what I think, as someone who studies literature, is that the human element, we might call, in warfare, which political science, of course, does touch on, but maybe not to the same extent and in the same depth as literature does. So things like the personal desire for glory, a thirst for vengeance, other irrational passions that, of course, political scientists know as part of war, is a major preoccupation of literature. And I think the exploration in literature offers us a complement to political science and other disciplines in understanding what is, of course, a hugely complex, multidisciplinary endeavor, and perhaps never has war been as complex as it is today.
So with that kind of insight, though, about the value of literature, does that influence the way you teach literature at a place like West Point?
So much of what we do in a literature classroom at West Point would resemble what happens at a civilian university in the sense that we often teach texts you would find elsewhere. But what we do and what is different is that we are always very, very clear on the circumstances. There is a very particular context, of course. All of my students will become second lieutenants in the Army on their graduation. Some will stay for a period of years, some will stay for a whole career in the Army. And so much of the literature that we read, and this is the case with other disciplines as well, has a very specific context. They want to understand how it will affect them, not only as college undergraduates, but as aspiring officers. And of course, when we study the literature of war, which we do quite a lot, perhaps more than is done elsewhere, that is where their emerging professional identity and our own study of literature really intersect.
You know, we had on the show a few years ago Azar Nafisi, who I think she's done a lot of thinking, a lot of writing about the power of literature. And one of her central insights is that literature is challenging because the texts prove that the villain has as much of a perspective as the hero. And so is that your experience with the teaching of literature as well?
Absolutely. I think one of the things when you teach literature in a training environment, I think sometimes it's an easy mistake for novice readers to suggest that whatever you offer by way of literature is a kind of training manual. Right. And that's not the case. As Azar Nafisi observes, of course, you are thrown into contact with all sorts of people whose characters, whose values you do not share, and perhaps you would not want to aspire to. And yet you're forced in literature to reckon with those, to seek out commonality, but also to understand difference, sometimes unbridgeable difference. But how is it that you will understand other perspectives, other points of view?
So how did someone, you've got these incredible academic credentials, Harvard, St. Andrews, Yale, how do you come to find yourself teaching at a place like West Point?
Well, the answer I usually give is my father and Ulysses S. Grant. They are the two men who are responsible for this. My father, because he served in World War II, and I grew up thinking about war and the Army through that lens, rather than I think through the lens of some of my contemporaries' parents who were of a younger generation, perhaps a Vietnam generation. So I think I had perhaps a more nuanced or more complicated understanding of the military and military service. And then when I was in graduate school, I came upon the memoirs of Ulysses S. Grant, and I didn't know it at the time. I knew it was an extraordinary book at the time, but I didn't know at the time how unusual it was in terms of its accounting of warfare in the 19th century. And I didn't know that in many ways it would sort of redirect my life, or at least change the trajectory somewhat of my life. It's a book I later came to edit. And it's one that, in a sense, introduced me to West Point, because in the early chapters of that book, Grant spends some time talking about West Point and about his love-hate relationship with his time there and the things that he did. One of the things that he did, and this I like to share very much with my students, was that he spent a lot of time reading novels, but he assures us that they were not of the trashy sort.